Okay, we are officially live. That's a very short intro.
I love
But
it.
I do need to redesign a new one for Finance Fridays. So welcome everybody. If you're here live, we only know you're here if you comment, and if you want to comment, that would be great. But if you want to be a fly on the wall, we don't know you're here, that's okay too. Hopefully you'll take something away from today's conversation. We are going to spend 30 minutes with Tina and Chris talking about money. So that's going to be excited. This is our first live together, so bear with us as we learn our groove. And so why don't Tina and Chris, you go first, introduce yourself, and then Tina, and then I'll start asking some questions, or you guys can start. Let's go.
Awesome. All right. Well, hi, I'm Chris Yarrington. I am a financial advisor with Northwestern Mutual, and I'm really excited to be here today talking about some Finance Friday stuff. So,
Great. My name is Tina Liu, and I have a bookkeeping and advisory services firm, and we help small businesses grow. And I'm here in San Diego too. So thank you for having me, Tanya.
You're very welcome. And yay, normally I am in San Diego County. I live in Oceanside, but today I'm in Texas. So truthfully, the time change kind of snagged us a snafu this morning, but we're all here. So that's really cool. And hi, David. Thank you for showing up today. I appreciate your support. So let's start money. I'm going to start with a question. So Chris, what do you find with small business owners, since, you're right, I coach small business owners. You guys obviously help and work with many different types of businesses or non-business owners. But what do you find is the biggest mistake with money? And just one, because we don't want to focus on all the boo-boos, but I mean, I know I've had a few.
okay. So honestly, I don't like to use the words mistakes and things like that, right?
Right.
But
I know you don't.
areas of growth
Yeah.
or areas that get overlooked the most with small businesses tends to be retirement planning.
Yep.
So I don't know if you found that too, Tina or Tanya, but that's kind of the biggest gap that I've seen when it comes to working with small business owners.
Cool. Tina, do you see anything else? Is there another
I mean,
area of growth?
yeah, I think Chris is spot on. I think a lot of business owners don't think long term, like why are they doing their small business? So that's one of our pillars, is helping owners grow their personal wealth and save for retirement. I think another key part is knowing your numbers, and are you pricing your services or goods appropriately, right? And so I think sometimes early on, even in my case, you tend to underprice your services, and so if you're converting every sale, then you're probably underpricing your service, right? If you're closing every deal because they like your price, chances are you've probably underpriced your service.
I found that to be true. I know for me, so as a small business owner, and I started 2.5 years ago, when I first started, and so my area of growth would be that I held on to my money too tightly because I wasn't sure how business would grow. And so I found I was like holding on to it so tight that I didn't want to invest it. I just wanted to see it in the bank account. And it took me about 1.5 years before I started, expanding and letting go of that tightness. But I find that a lot, at least for me, that was my area of growth.
And I think for business owners, what they can do to sort of overcome that resistance is just set up like a program for themselves, you could set up like 3 different bank accounts, right? Like one for operations, one for saving, and then one I call profit sharing or retirement. So if you're, consistent in making transfers to those accounts, then it won't be so hard to then say, okay, that money I've already earmarked for retirement, so I'm going to put it wherever Chris tells me to put it.
And that's the great thing about one of my favorite quotes is that you don't rise to your goals, you fall to the systems that you have in place,
Yeah.
right? So if you think about it in terms of your business runs and it always has some sort of system. There is a system, even if it's not purely defined. There's a system that supports your business, whether that's you meet with someone twice a month, or whether that's you are sitting down with people and you're going through taxes every single year, or if it's something where you're sitting down and you're building a plan with someone, like that is going to inherently have a system. If you know what your numbers are and you know what your system is telling you to do, just like Tina said, earmarking percentages to go, then, and you know how much you need to live off of, then you can start to create a system that automatically takes care of things, like having a marketing budget, knowing that 10% of your income should go towards marketing, so you don't ever have to worry about funding your marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Knowing what your saving percentage should be, so that you put, which typically we suggest 20% of whatever you bring in, you should be putting towards savings.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
And whether that's, a specific type of savings like retirement, or if it's going to be investing in something else or saving for a specific purchase, but 20% should be coming in and going straight into some sort of savings that you have.
Right. Yeah. I find with my coaching clients, when they first come to me, if they're newer, be it a realtor or broker, a lender, a roofer, if they're already established and they want to go to the next level, they're typically set up 80% correctly. But if I have a brand new business owner, brand new realtor, they're not even saving. Most of them don't even put away for taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Which again, when we're talking about areas of growth, that's the first one. And I know I learned that lesson the hard way. That's how I'm wired. I learned my lessons the hard way. My first year of real estate, 25, almost 30 years ago, that first year bit me in the behind, because every single paycheck, I did not take 20, 25% and put it away for taxes, let alone retirement.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Tanya, the thing is sharing mistakes, it's every successful leader, when they benchmark, kind of how they got there, they're all going to say you can't be afraid to make mistakes, right? Because that's how we learn. So I love how you're shaping this into like, what do we grow from, or what do we, and so that's really the thing. It's like, even in the beginning, when you feel like you're not making enough, you still need to set up those systems, like Chris talked about, and what I was talking about, having these different accounts, because even if it's just moving $1 the first month, getting that setup going so that every month you're looking at your numbers, you're seeing what's residual beyond what you need to live off, and you create those systems to put money aside. It'll make it more as you grow, and it's a process that scales, right? And so as those buckets get bigger, then you see, okay, I can actually change my strategy. I can add more marketing. I can grow my business, or whatever the case is.
Yeah, and having that system and knowing the biggest thing is knowing what your expenses are that you need to live off of, and then having the commitment to yourself and your business to pay yourself a salary that is covering that. And if you have a surplus, the rest of that money has to be reinvested into something. It's not just going into your bank account and going for you to go buy a new couch or something, or go on a trip. It's knowing I'm going to sacrifice a little bit today so that I can set up the future for tomorrow. And where we get in trouble is people will get, a $20,000 check. They need $10,000 to live off of. Instead of taking that $10,000 and putting it in their reserves, they take it. Maybe they take $5,000 of it and they go have a crazy shopping spree. And they're all happy-go-lucky for a couple of days, but then when you realize that now next month you only have half of what you need, and then they start to get worried again. So if you can set up and get that 3 to 6 months, for a small business owner, 6 months is kind of the standard that we use for them to have in the bank. For if a business owner has 6 months in the bank, they can function in their business fearlessly, because they know that no matter what, in 6 months, they can create enough business to maintain a level of that support in that account. So that means that you can make changes You can reject working with specific clients. You can tackle the change in increasing your price or whatever and going through that rocky land so
Yep.
that you can then move your business forward. And if we don't have that level of support behind you, it's really nerve-wracking to make any big changes.
Yeah, as a coach's perspective, I want my clients not to make decisions based out of fear. And when there's, only a month in the, like you said, there's a month or a month and a half a month in the savings account, all decisions are based out of fear. And one of the first things they'll get rid of is their coach. And then maybe after that, if, their financial planner or something,
Mhm.
right? Because those are probably the last thing that should come off their plate is the first thing,
Yeah.
right?
Well, honestly, the first thing that when we look at someone's financial plan and we look at how strong it is, the thing that we look at first is how can we make sure that your income is protected, right? If you don't have your income, the very first thing that falls off of the plate is savings. Saving for
Yep.
retirement, saving for all the potential future expenses, saving to have that emergency fund. And then the next thing is they're going to start cutting costs, like you said, Tanya, like getting
Yep.
rid of the coach or
Right.
however it might be. But the very first thing that people stop doing is they stop saving if they have
Yep.
a problem with cash flow.
Right. Absolutely. I love what David said. Money and pocket burning may need to live on that new couch. Absolutely. On the
Yep.
street, in the corner.
And it's like, and never be afraid to ask for help. Like I like to tell my clients, we do a review in Q4, to deal with questions like, are there excess profits in the business? Because if there is, we don't want to pay paying taxes is a good thing. It's an honorable thing. But, if you can, why not have that excess profit work for you? Right. So then that would be a great time, right, to then talk to Chris and say, hey, according to my bookkeeper, we're planning to have this much in excess profits by the end of the year. What should we do? And then that's a great time to ask those questions, because at the end of the day, we're here to help. And if you admit that there's an issue, right, there's people here to help you. And so if you have a great business model and you're doing well, or you think you're going to have a good year, that's an even better time to ask a financial expert on how can you position your money to work for you, right?
Yeah.
It's not just like, hey, we're in distress, we need some guidance from a coach or a bookkeeper or a financial planner, but it's also when you're doing well too, right? So it's never too late to set up good money saving habits, right?
Right. It's never too late. Absolutely. Chris,
And
so
there's never like an ideal time either, right? It's all the time.
Right. Right. So we've kind of focused on new business owners. Oh, let me interrupt myself. So David, if you have a question or you want to ask, either Tina or Chris a question, please feel free to do so. Because I know Chris is a phenomenal business owner. We've connected on LinkedIn. I'm sorry, David is a phenomenal business owner, but so is Chris and Tina and Tanya. Well, we've kind of been focusing on some newbies. Okay, David, we'll get right to your question. Thank you. Just a second, because I keep interrupting myself. How about a mid-successful business owner or someone who already has savings, already, has money in the bank, 6 months, they've budgeted 6 months, they're starting retirement. Where do you go from there with them? Chris, I'll let you go first. Where do you go with them? And then David, and after Tina answers, we'll get to your question.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of avenues that people don't know about in the financial realm that you can take advantage of when you have a level of success and support in your business. The first thing that we want to do is we really do truly look at how can we max out what you can put into retirement as long as that's needed. That's the most important thing, is making sure that you need to max out. A lot of people are like, oh, I really want to max out my retirement. So I want to have X, Y, and Z in place so that I can put as much money into my retirement account as possible. But that can actually be inefficient. It's a way that you could actually be wasting money by oversaving. It sounds crazy, but oversaving is a thing. Instead, we could be taking some of those dollars and implementing different assets in your financial plan that allow you to grow your legacy and also save, put some money where it actually can grow tax free. And there's not a lot of avenues to do that, but there are certain things that you can implement and you can do it through your business even. So there's, with being a business owner, you have so many more options because you own that business. You can set up
Mhm.
things that allow you to save money in really creative ways.
Yeah.
So it's a
Very
powerful
cool.
strategy, and it's, if you're in that realm where you're like you're seeing a good amount of success and you have money that you don't know where to put it, that's a time that you want to have that conversation.
Yeah.
And from a business planning perspective, it's also aligning, understanding that business owner's goals, like what's your exit strategy, right? Like, are you trying to create a business that you want to leave a legacy, like Chris said, and maybe pass it on to family? Is it something where you want to position for sale so that, you can get out of the business, whatever that is? And so it's really just having a good, business partner in your like accounting and advisory service or with a financial planner or coach to really understand what your long-term goal is. What
Yep.
is your exit strategy, right?
I love that question, Tina, because I coach a roofer who has a very successful roofing company in Dallas. And that's one of the first things we talked about as we were planning for 2025 already, because now's the time, right? The first thing he said is, and we talked about was like, okay, I'm thinking I want to sell this in 7 years. What's my exit strategy? Yep.
Because a business that's geared towards growth versus one where the owner has developed a successful business and wants to position and exit in the future, those goals and planning and strategy are two different things, right? And
Right.
and then you also want to talk to your financial planner to make sure that the exit strategy you're planning for your business is aligned with your financial goals, right? And so it's really important. Like the 3 tiers we have here is perfect. It's like you really want to make sure that the folks that are supporting your life goals and your business goals are really aligned, and then that way you can maximize the outcome.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Let's get to David's question. Thank you, David. Election year issues, fears, and nobody moving on anything. So I have a lot to say about that, but I'm not going to go first. So who wants to go first?
I mean, I think in the small business world, there's some concern that that tax credit, is going to expire next year. Not tax credit, but the lower tax rate for small businesses will expire next year. We don't know if which administration is going to do what. I think Chris and I talked about it a lot. Every administration seems to borrow more, we get more into debt, right? And as the national deficit increases, tax rates are going to go up no matter what, no matter who's in office. So, I mean, I think it's definitely something that people are concerned about. And all you can do is if you have good financial, influences or strategic partners in your life, then you're going to be set up well no matter what the outcome is. And so that's really the key, right? Is having the support that understands that landscape and can help you navigate it no matter which way it goes.
Yeah. Chris, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, a lot of people are concerned about, the market always gets really volatile when it comes to the election year. And partly that's a good thing. If you have your money in a well managed portfolio, you can actually take advantage of that volatility. And having rebalancing occurring during that time is a great option. Now, if you're in retirement and you're worried about an election year and things like that and market dropping, there are other ways that you can handle your retirement plan so that you can counteract any sort of volatility. It
Yeah.
just is planning a holistic retirement plan to plan for that. But yeah, there's definitely going to be fear. There's always fear around election year.
Yeah.
But think about it this way, no matter what happens with whoever gets into office, the market will always recover and continue to grow. So fear or not, just the biggest thing that you got to be careful of is reacting to the fear, right?
Right,
Using your
exactly.
own
Yep.
emotions.
Yep. Yes. Or all right, so I'm not going to call out. I'm happy to call out myself in my own experience. I know in the past when this has happened, either election years or like right before 2008 when the market crashed, I totally ignored my money. I just, there was at some point I went, when did I lose 60% of my, 401k? How did that happen? First, I didn't have a financial advisor calling me saying we might need to do some things. Like that person was ostracized. I call it being an ostrich, right? Just bury your head in the sand. I was being an ostrich. So one of the things I've learned, and I really appreciate with working with Chris, is one, I love, and you just said it, Chris, a holistic approach with my money. Like, so I no longer ostrich, especially because of my age. So that's part of the why of not ostriching, right? Once I turned 60, it was like, okay, Tanya, get your head out of the sand. But I love that, like if that there's more than just my eggs are in different baskets, and I trust the person that I'm looking at right now that, is gonna not ostrich when it's necessary.
I mean, the emotional connection to money, right? And the psychology around money it's such a powerful thing. And so, when there is fear of national events or whatever, it just goes to like that saying, like, you don't know what you don't know, and that's okay, right? Like, I don't know marketing, so I'm going to find a fractional marketing person that's going to help me with that program. Now my fears have been allayed. We have like milestones and a plan. Same thing with money and finances, right? Tanya, I do bookkeeping. I'm a numbers girl, and I share the same kind of experience or roadmap you do, because again, it's an emotional thing, right?
Yeah.
And so until I started working with Chris, did I go, and here's the thing too, like, because I have experience in finance, I think I'm pretty smart, right? And
Right.
Chris will go, actually, if you do this, right? And then I had during our last call, right? Like, my mind exploded. I was like, you know what? Thank you for, repositioning the way I was thinking about that, because I thought I knew the answer. So the point is, I guess what I'm trying to say is, just make sure you have people in your life that know money, that can speak candidly to you about, the situation, and then give you actionable guidance that you feel comfortable around, right? And
Yeah.
so it doesn't mean you have to get there on day one. Like, we can have this really grand plan for you. You have some fear around it. You don't have to implement it all 100% day one.
No.
It's something we can work through, right? So it's just like, fear is because you don't know what you don't know. And so then just get the experts that will give you that kind of candid, actionable guidance, right?
Yeah. And here's the thing. When it comes to your money, you're going to be emotional. But when it comes to deciding what to do, you should have someone that you can talk to that has no emotional connection to that
Right.
money, right? And that's the point of having that third party, that financial advisor that comes in and says, hey, I understand how you feel. However, this is what's going to happen if you do that. And I'll give you an example. Someone that made a job change, had a little bit of financial instability, and decided, you know what, there's a bunch of money in my 401k. I need a little bit of extra cushion. I'm going to take that money out. If that person had sat down and said that to me, I would have been like, hold on, do you understand the ramifications of doing that?
Right.
Right? It was an emotional response to get a little bit of money, but then wasted almost 35% of it with taxes.
Right.
So the big thing is knowing, one, you may not know everything that's going to happen, and two, you should always have someone that's a neutral third party that's not going to be interacting with this in an emotional way.
Yeah. 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 I agree. Yeah. So yes, I'm very grateful, Chris, for your non-emotional advice. And Tina and I are both nodding our heads. Yep, we've been there. We've done that.
Because I mean, I'm the perfect example, right? Like I help people manage and have great outcomes with their business, right? Their business finances. But I still have that kind of sticky emotional reaction to my own money, right? And so that's really what it is. It's like getting the third party neutral service provider that's just going to take your numbers and translate it, right, in a way that makes sense to you and say, hey, listen, this is an issue, but we can work through it, right?
Yep. I'll invite both of you next time. Once a quarter, I teach a class that's called Your Relationship with Money, because it is a very emotional, powerful thing. And most people I find have not the healthiest relationship with money. It's not a subject we talk about. Like we don't talk about sex and money, right? It's like, it's not talked about. And okay, I'm cool with not talking about sex, but the money thing, you know, so many people are so embarrassed, shy about talking about money. And it's a powerful class. Every time I teach it, there are tons of aha moments with people in that class that are like, yeah, I've got to have a more communicative relationship with my money, right? Yeah.
I think for a lot of people culturally, right, talking about money is taboo, right?
Yep.
You know, I have a multicultural, you know, relationship, and in our culture, we talk about everything. Like strangers walk in the front door and it's like, how much do you make? You know? And so, right. And so there's a bit more honesty, but I find with my husband's side, right, it's really taboo. And so I think it instills a little bit of fear in not wanting to ask for help because of that. And so, you know, it's like what we said, you know, it's okay to not know what you don't know. And the best way to get rid of that fear is to seek out, you know, a coach, you know, a financial advisor, right? A financial planner, right?
Yep. Absolutely. All right. To honor time, and I love what David said, you head out of the sand. Absolutely. But to honor time, because I know, Chris, you need to skedaddle, and I have a call, and I want to thank both of you for readjusting with my, you know, areas of growth today. Chris, I'm going to let you have the last word. Any fun advice? Because you know me and fun. Any fun advice? Anything you want to close out today with?
You should know the answer to that question. I always like to end with a book. The Psychology of Money. I don't know if anyone's heard of it or read it. It's a bunch of dollar bills, or it's a bunch of bills that are all folded into the shape of a brain on the cover. Great book. Talks about exactly what we're just talking about. So I would highly recommend doing that. Read that book.
Nice. Very cool. So I want to thank both of you, Tina, Chris. This will go on my Facebook and it'll stay there for a while. This lands on my LinkedIn, doesn't stay on LinkedIn very long, but it does stay on YouTube. So if there's, what I'm going to ask you both to do in the future, put your title next to your name. However, in the meantime, when it does plan on social media, go into the chat and put in how people can find you, like your website or your email or any of the above, so how people can find you. And we'll do this again next month.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me, Tanya.
You're very welcome. All right, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Tina.
Bye.